All right, Nico, can you say, welcome to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies?
It's a happy episode. Happy babies.
Welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I'm the prenatal and pediatric chiropractor here at the Capilano Center. And this podcast is all about helping you have a proactively healthy pregnancy so you can have a safe, gentle, natural birth. And that's going to allow you to bring your baby into the world that much more gently and healthily so you can start off your family experience more powerfully than if it's full of stress and trauma and other health concerns. So if you are a fan of this show and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss a upcoming episode. And also, if you haven't rated or reviewed the podcast and you've enjoyed it and gotten value of it, that will really help me out because that'll allow this podcast to reach more and more parents like yourself that might be missing out on this type of information and helping them along their parenting journey. So thank you in advance for that. And thank you if you already have rated and reviewed. All right, on today's episode of On Parenthood, I want to talk about a question that I know all of us parents ask ourselves a lot. At least I ask myself this question a lot, and from the conversations I've had with you parents, you do too, and that is, am I doing a good job? And that often comes up, especially on days where we feel pulled in tons of different directions. I mean, let's face it, parenthood is hard. There are so many different things going on all at once, and we just don't always do our best. And it's usually in those moments, if I can speak for myself, and hopefully you can resonate with this as well, is that it's usually when a couple of those moments where we aren't doing our best job because we were distracted, we're tired, we're stressed out by other things, or it's just been at the end of a long day of relentless challenges that we start asking, like, man, like, what am I doing here? I don't think I'm doing a good job for like my kiddo or my kids. And there's a couple of things going on there. One, I know that when I start getting down on myself as a parent that, you know, I'm too short with Nico, or I'm not giving him the space, or I'm not holding him accountable in the way I should, all those kind of things. It's usually coming at a number of different things gone sideways, and it's coming at a time where there's just way too much going on, period. And so a specific example that even just happened yesterday where I learned a ton about myself. It's around pumpkin patch time when this is episode's being published. It's around Halloween. We've got a bouncy house park attached to the pumpkin patch that Nico loves, and I love taking him to it. It's super fun. It tires him out. He has a great time, and then he's just way chill afterwards. It's really fun to see him bouncing around. But yesterday, I found myself getting really down on myself because of this one thing. Towards the end of the playtime, we were getting ready to go. I just could not get Nico out of this bouncy house. And this is a place where the majority, like, parents aren't allowed on the things. I mean, in an emergency, of course, like, you can go up there, but he was on the biggest one as this huge thing. You climb up one side, slide down the back side of things. And I had said, all right, Nico, it's 2 more minutes, it's time to go. And he sensed that. And then what does he do? He stays at the very top of it where I can't get at him, you know? And there's tons of kids like bouncing around. There's tons of parents watching their kids. And I'm like, Nico, time to go. Let's go. Come on. And, you know, trying to be just corralling him out of this bouncy house just wasn't happening. And I was getting really frustrated with myself and definitely frustrated with him. But what came up was I was also really self-conscious. You know, I was thinking like, oh man, everybody's like seeing me that I can't control my kid, and I, quote, should be controlling my kid, and all this stuff is going through my head. And, you know, long story short, like, you know, he just wanted to stay, of course. And, you know, finally he came down. It didn't take a long time. It was only a couple minutes. We go and he had a great time and the like, but it just really stayed with me around how self-conscious I was that other parents were going to think I wasn't doing a good job or didn't have control of him or anything or something along those lines. And it caused me to do some introspection about it. So like it's come up a bunch in other types of scenarios, but this is just a specific example of what I'm sharing. And it all came around like, am I doing a good job myself that I can't, get him to come right away? And that first question is just, out of the moment is ridiculous. Like, of course he wants to stay, and it's going to be tough. Like, no kid wants to leave like the bouncy house to like go eat lunch, It's unrealistic for me to think that that's going to be a challenge, and that's true for everyone. I mean, what came to me thinking about it too is, as a kid, I can totally remember when we were on vacation playing in the pool. Once mom started saying like, all right, it's time to get going, I would duck underneath the water and just start swimming underwater, like with my goggles or mask, whatever I had. And like I'd come up for air real fast and then dive right down, because I knew mom was calling us out. And it was time to go out of the pool and I didn't want to. So I would play that game until, mom finally realized what was going on and, she'd yank us out of the pool. So, he's just being a kid and he's doing that. But what's more important, what even taught me even more, is being self-conscious that other parents were judging me or, thinking I was doing a bad job, and putting some more thought into that. That's just ridiculous as well, because at a bouncy house, like when you got your kids around, like you're not thinking about other parents or even other kids. Like you're just worried about your own kid and paying attention, making sure they're not falling off of it. Yeah, you might be paying attention to other kids to make sure they're not going to like kick your kid or push them off something or other. But for me to think that all these other parents were paying attention to my parenting style and my parenting abilities is kind of funny, thinking about it afterwards. But I went a little deeper too, in that there's some, I did the work on it. I've been doing stuff with Byron Katie's Loving What Is. She has a 4-question process around, getting down to the root of things. And really when I came to that statement of like, I think other parents are judging me when I can't control Nico in public, going through this whole process, and you can learn more about her work, basically came down to the turnaround was I judge myself when I can't control Nico in public. And even controlling Nico is just kind of a weird thing of like, making sure that he's, doing what he's supposed to be doing and staying out of trouble and we're going when we're supposed to be going. But regardless, it really came down to realizing that I'm really judgmental on myself when things go a little sideways. And when I do that, it just makes me more stressed out. It makes me more tight. It makes me more short with Nico, and it doesn't allow for either learning or moving through it to happen. And it comes from being like a really strong critic of myself. And I think all of us as parents go through tough times, and I know that when things go sideways and it just doesn't go as planned and there's a challenge there, if I'm in a relaxed space about it, I can be gentle on myself, saying like, oh, like that definitely didn't go the way I want. Like, what can I learn from it? Oh, I should have done this. I'll be more proactive. Or if I find myself in that moment, I'll respond differently. I won't be such a like knee-jerk reaction and make the situation worse. But let's face it, there's a lot of times where we don't have that time or the energy to, respond rather than react. And so that's another lesson I learned about, making sure that, I'm rested and I'm eating and, relaxed going into those things as much as possible, so that when things do go sideways or they hit the fan, that I have a reserve of energy to be able to handle that best, not only for me as a parent, but also for my kiddo. Like he wants the best version of me and the best parenting from me. And that can come if I have that energy in that space. But regardless of how it goes in that moment, for the rest of the afternoon, I was kind of beating myself up, and I'm like, man, like I'm not doing a good job here. Like, I don't know what I should be doing. Maybe I should read more books and do this and, get help from all these different people. And that's true. I can learn. And that's a different question. The other question is, how can I be better as a parent? Is a great one to ask because you're learning and wanting to move forward. But it's different than like, am I doing a good job? Because implied in that is, some self-judgment, and at least it is for me. And so that question, instead of using as like, really what it's coming down to is saying like, man, I'm not doing a good job. If I can ask the question, am I doing a good job, and get an honest yes or no, if it's yes, then great. No, I'm not perfect, but I'm doing a good job and I'm going to get better. Versus if there's a time where like, I've not been doing a good job, like what can I do to change it? And that might be learning some different ways of handling situations with Nico. It might be getting more rest. It might be, just being more balanced myself so I can come into these parenting situations more balanced or more whole so that I can respond differently. But in general, from what I've heard from parents going through challenges, whether it's like in the newborn phase or the first year, or especially in the toddler years, which can be really challenging emotionally with all of the challenging that the kiddo's doing, the more that we can come from a place of learning and come from a place of, hey, I'm doing my best, and together with my kid and together with my partner and my kid, we're all learning and growing and becoming a better version of ourselves, one as a parent and two as a family, the better it is for everybody. Because nobody needs like a stressed out parent coming to their kid trying to get on their case about things. More so, it's something that having that space, having that gentleness around, okay, that didn't go the way I wanted, but how can I do better? And then letting it go rather than, when it comes down to it, yesterday afternoon, I spent a large part of it just kind of beating myself up. And, it's time to put the club down. Things are hard enough. And, this has come up before in my life around how, if the mental chatter that I say to myself when I'm being really hypercritical of myself, if somebody else was telling me those things, like I wouldn't choose to hang around them. Like, hey, like you might be right on some things, but you do not need to talk to me that way. But I'm talking to myself that way. So, that lesson came yesterday, and I've been hearing it a lot in these last couple of weeks with the families that I'm seeing here, and kind of a common theme. And so when those themes come up, I pay attention and do some self-reflection. And then from what I've learned, I want to share it here so it might be able to help you. So yes, I definitely think it's true that if you're asking the question, am I doing a good job here, that you're in a parenting percentile that's very high because you're asking the question wanting to be better. But if it's coming from a place of self-judgment, I think we can definitely have some space to let that inner critic go, and being your own worst critic. You have choice over that, and to switch it around and say, okay, that wasn't my best, but this is what I learned from it, and this is how it's going to be different in the past. And I think you'll notice, as I did yesterday, once I kind of let that stress around things go, that things go much better with your kiddo and with your whole family. So as always, keep up the good work out there. I know you're doing a good job. I know you're trying to get better. That's why you're listening to things like this, and hopefully you found this helpful. No, you're not alone. Reach out. Every time that parents are sharing stories with me, I'm able to learn from it, and then as I'm able to share with those parents, they're learning as well, and we all, at the end of those kind of conversations, say like, oh gosh, I guess I'm not the only one. And that's really what I think keeps us isolated and keeps us stressed, is thinking we're the only ones going through this. And you're not. We've all been through this. We're all going through this. And if we can all work together and help each other, even if it's just listening, I think it's going to make everything so much better for our families. So as I said before, keep it up. Keep up the good work. Keep learning. Know you're not alone. And we'll connect again on the next podcast. Hi, it's Dr. J again, and I want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It's something I really enjoy doing, and I, as a parent, learn a ton from these experts coming on and sharing their wisdom, so I hope you're getting a lot out of it too. And I want to share something else with you. I've created a guide called the 40 Ways to Connect with Your Baby During Pregnancy. It's full of simple things you can do on a day-to-day basis that will help strengthen that bond that you have with your baby. It's a free download. You can go to my website at drjwarren.com/40ways and just enter your email. I'll send it right to you. You can download it and start working on it right away. All of the research that I'm learning in the fields of epigenetics and attachment parenting is showing that the more bonded you are during your pregnancy with your baby, the better the birth is going to go and the better parenting is going to go, because you have that strong foundation, a strong connection to build upon. So go again to my website. It's drjwarren.com/40ways and get that free guide. And again, thanks for listening.